Hey everybody, welcome or welcome back. My name is Monique. Welcome to Medora Budgets. I'd like to thank anybody who's liked or commented on any of my videos, and especially those that have chosen to subscribe to my channel. Truly started this as a way to hold myself accountable. Let's push that on up so y'all can't see my clothes. But I understand, recognize, and appreciate the community as a whole. So if you're rocking with me on this journey, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you haven't made up your mind yet, sit with me for a spell. At the end of this video, if it's content you find valuable or enjoyable, please feel free to subscribe. It's myself and Sweets, married with a whole bunch of kids, trying to figure out our future family finances so the decisions we're making now won't negatively impact us in the future. Today is Thursday, July the 10th. It is my sister's birthday. So if you are listening, big head, happy birthday to you. She has turned 50 finally. Everybody thinks she older than me anyway because she act like my mama. But she is just turning 50. So y'all wish her happy birthday in the comments. Her name is Karen. She will probably comment on this video anyway, looking for me to give her a shout out because that's how she is. So there you go. All right. So you will see this video, of course, on Thursday as well. So as soon as I finish it, I'm going to upload. We are here to do like a paycheck budget closeout. I'm going to just share with you guys some of the things that I'm starting to understand with working through YNAB, as well as having a paper budget and doing things digitally. Some of the things that I've learned and some of the things that I am going to change going forward. So this budget is going to be, excuse me, and you've heard me refer to messy budgets before. And that's usually if I have to write all of the stuff out and trying to get prepared for about 2 months out as far as my paychecks are concerned. We'll talk about that later. I don't want to change topics, but at the end of the day, this is going to be a messy budget. The numbers aren't going to number quite right. And I'm going to talk through why that is and then what I'm going to do going forward. All right. So this is the paycheck that I would have received on June the 27th. And it worked through, or it's good up through today, July the 10th. I get paid on July the 11th. Alrighty. I did a budget versus actuals because I did forget about three different bills. And so I did a budget versus actuals earlier into this process for this particular paycheck cycle. But that has even changed now that I'm at the end. So you're going to see some adjustments to some of those numbers from that video. So if you look at that video and then look at this one, you're like, hey, your numbers are off. Yes, but this is more so a real time kind of example of where my budget is. Okay. All right. So as far as, and I'm going to be going in between digital planning and my paper planner, and you'll see why in a minute. So I did not calculate any rollover, and that was a big miss. This is something I found that I am going to have to do going forward, because I still have, when we finish this budget, I would not be surprised if I show that I am over budget, meaning I spent more money than I brought in. And that is inaccurate because I never count my rollover. So there's been money set aside in some of these virtual cash envelopes that I have in YNAB that I've been able to pull from. So that's where the discrepancy is. So going forward, what I'm going to do is add up all of the money that I still have showing in YNAB right before I get paid the next time, my next paycheck. So today I will do that this evening in preparation for getting paid tomorrow. And I will document that as my rollover in my next budget with me. I think that's how I need to do it, because sometimes I'm spending some of that money and you can't see that reflected here because I never talk about my rollover. Okay. So bills account, I did put $1,500 in that. Variable account got $910. Other. So for other, and we'll go to the paper budget for this piece. For other, yeah, this is right. Okay. So for other, I had $375. Thank you, Governor, for a Georgia tax stimulus. Sweets gave me $50 as well, just for my money, as my money. From my sinking funds, I used $767.01. And how I came up with those numbers is that every week I'm writing all of my transactions that I have outside of bills, with the exception of bills. Bills, I have documented here pretty good. But anything else that I spend money on, I document it here. I'm making sure that I write in where I'm bringing sinking funds into my budget within YNAB, especially to make sure that I am accounting for those amounts. And then every week I'm going to start doing a wrap up page, or I started to do a wrap up page of all of the money that was spent. So me money, dining, gas, grocery, over the counter, home, car wash. Those are all variables that I have. Here is sinking funds. Wherever I put an SF next to something, I knew I pulled money from that, or here I pulled money from my credit union. I documented it here and what that came from. And then any expenses that didn't fall into that. For example, I had a bank fee, an ATM fee. I don't have a category for that, but it's money that I spent, plus the money that I talked about that I spent at Amazon, and we'll talk through it later. But it's $240.73, and so all of that will be unbudgeted. So if there's not a category for it, then it gets translated into having being an unbudgeted amount. And I do that for every week. That was that week. What week was that? That was week 2. And then that's week 1. So I'm doing that every week, and then I add all of these numbers together, and that's how I come up with the numbers that you see over here. So I have for total other was $1,192.01. I'm going to take that cent away. That's something else I know we talked about. I'm keeping real time on my paper planner. I'm keeping track of the actuals to include the change. On this budget, I didn't do that at first, so I'm not going to start it with just one. So let's just do whole numbers, and then going forward, I will write in the exact amounts, okay? All right, so let's add all of that together. So we got 1,500 plus 910, 1192. So I was working with $3,602. All right. Now let's look at the bills, or the fixed expenses. I put $140 over into giving. I have not spent all of this money. So that's one of the things, like I mentioned before, that YNAB still shows me how much money I have in envelopes. But I did budget that here, so I'm just going to use that whole number this time. So 140 for giving. I put 230 towards mortgage instead of the 430 I initially said. 270 still went into auto. Everything else happened as expected. 25 the phone, Apple iPro got their 850 to AHS, Ring got 10, Electric got 175. So at one time, this said 200 when I did my budget versus actuals, but I did take it back down to 175. I thought I was going to need that extra money, so I did go back to the original amount on that one. BET shows $6, Spotify 18, property insurance came out 175, Audible was 19. And I actually have canceled Audible, and we'll talk about that in the future. Paramount, 13. Now, here's what I forgot. Gas South was due on the 28th. I had to write that in for $102. Disney Plus came out on the 29th, and I had to write that in for $3. So it wasn't initially planned, nor did I catch it during the budget versus actuals. Lawn Love, I did catch that one. And I put $75 here, but lo and behold, it's been raining so much they keep having to cancel. So I've not spent that money yet. So I put a 0 in here, and that money is still sitting in the bank account. And then Straight Talk. So my son's phone messed up, and he, this is when he has to pay his car note as well as his car insurance. And all of that together is the exact money that he had set aside. He was not anticipating this, did not have any money for that. And I didn't want him to pull from his savings, because he had to pull from his savings earlier this week. So I told him I would go ahead and pay for just him to get a Straight Talk phone, $50. It covers you for 30 days. That'll give you enough time to figure out what you want to do as far as either getting a phone or setting up a new plan with Visible, etc. Whatever you decide to do, you got 30 days. So that's that $49 that you see there. All right, so let's add all of this up. 140 plus 230, 270, 25, 850, 10, 175. Did that wrong. 140. Let me stop trying to talk and do it. Let's see. 6, and this should have been 18. I think I did 8 for that. 175. Again, 19. 13, 102, 3, and 49 equals $1,293. And we're going to subtract that from 3602. And that means I was working with $2,309. Let me erase this because that's old. And then let's talk about these numbers. $309. And all of these are probably the wrong color, honey. I'm going to circle all of these. We're going to turn all of that red. Okay. All right. So let's talk about it. Again, the numbers that you're going to see here are the actual numbers of exactly what I spent over the last 2 weeks over here as of today. So for groceries, I only spent $137, and that makes sense because I've been out of town both weekends and as well as the kids also. So I haven't had to worry about groceries, but that is reflected more so in the dining, where you see I only allotted $50, but we ended up spending $190. OTC, I just made these. At first this was $0, but yesterday I had to go and replenish all of Sweets and I's supplements. So I went to BJ's and it was quite expensive. So that was $130 for that. And then gas, I've been out of town the last couple of weeks, like I mentioned before. So I was over in the gas, but I did have buffer in there. So I'm not too worried about that, but I did go over in that account as well. Home, I didn't spend anything. Car wash actually came out. The subscription that I have came out during this particular paycheck cycle. Although I only allotted $15. Again, it's a case where I had money already over there. So I had the money to cover it, but it is over as far as this budget is concerned. What had happened was I spent $180 on that. And I tried to pull from some of these other accounts, plus some of the extra money that I had from this other, I just pulled from that as well. So sinking funds, when you see this $1,142.01, here we go again with the cents. Let's take that off. And we're going to make this $254. So when you see that, that encompasses the information I was showing you over here, where the Georgia state tax, the $375, I put that in the sinking fund categories, and then I pulled from it to spend. So that's that $1,142, and the unbudgeted should have been $254, just to give it a round number, and I want to be sure. Yeah, $254. All right, so let's add all of these together. 137. 132, 130, 190 plus 26, 180, 1142, and 254 equals $2,191. I'm going to subtract that from 2309, and that leaves me with only $118. All right. Ooh, y'all. Okay. So I'm bringing over $118. The nail net came out as expected for $82. So let's subtract 82, and that leaves $36, which is less than I anticipated. So we're going to write 36 over here. And then I was able to contribute to my savings funds as I anticipated. 70, 20, 40, 50, 30, 50. I gave a little bit more to Little Bean. It was 54. I gave a little bit more to the acrylic box. It was 40. And then I still did my savings challenge Monday mini for $60. So that's $414. And when you subtract that from, well, that should have been $36. So 36 minus 414 equals, I'm negative $378. Okay, so that's what I mean by I knew that this was going to show a little wonky because I have not been considering my my rollover and all of the money that I have in buffer. So you see a negative $378. You see a whole lot of red in this particular one. But I will show you this. And this is where, like I mentioned before, I am struggling with how I'm going to account for it. So let's see. I'm going to go over to plan, and I am going to go to Newton Federal. So remember, I set up my focus views so that I can see how much money I have based on in those particular accounts that I have. My bills buffer account, Newton Federal account. I need to have, and I should have, about 149.40 plus 70 equals $219.40. Oh, it was 70 cents. 149.40. I was about to say that's a little bit more than I expected. There you go, $150.10. And so here, like I mentioned before, I did not spend all money in giving. I still have $25 left in that. I did not spend Law and Love yet, so that still has the $75. I gave myself $200 for electricity, but I only paid $175 for the bill. So that's $25 is still sitting there, etc. And so what happens then is that I'm building up money over time. I'm not accounting for that in my budget that you guys are seeing. So what I'm going to do going forward, I'm going to come over here. So today, as long as nothing else clears later on this evening, I'm going to look at this focus view for, for Newton Federal. That's my bills account, and I'm going to say I should have $150.10 in that account, and I do. So I'm going to say that's how much I have for rollover for that one. And then for Chase, I need to pay my Chase Freedom card to make sure that my numbers are matching up correctly. And then I'm going to pull whatever that number is with what's left over and add that to my rollover as well. So going forward, my hope is that my numbers will be a lot closer because I will account for all of that extra that I've been leaving into these accounts over months, so that it'll look more real, or I guess more precise or exact as far as my numbers are concerned when we're going over the budget. Now, I don't know how that's going to work with my Transfer Tuesdays. It is very difficult trying to manage two different financial paths. So I talked about and had gone to doing a Sunday to a Monday or a Monday to a Monday to pay my Chase Freedom credit card, and then making that payment on Tuesday as you guys watch me. So that's how I was going to do my Transfer Tuesday. But in essence, my pay cycle still works the same way that I had it before, where I would start a new week on that Friday and then end it on a Thursday. That way, when my new check came in or my paycheck came in, it would start me off fresh again. I may have to go back to that. And I don't know what it looks like to have a Transfer Tuesday on Friday, but I do need to hold myself accountable for that. So I may have to do it on Friday, and then you guys see the video on Tuesday. And I think I've done that in the past before, so we may be going back to that. All right, I think that is it. It's a long video, but I did want to talk through what my numbers look like. So I did want to make sure that you guys were aware. I knew I was going to come in as over, what is that? Yeah, over budget. I didn't know how much, so $378 is a lot. But when I get ready to do my budget, which I haven't started working on that yet here, but when I get ready to do my budget for tomorrow and we do the budget with me, you will start to see rollover going forward. Plus, you're going to see exact amounts here as far as what I have spent. So there you go. All right. Thanks, everybody, for your time. You guys have a good one.